Hello, and welcome to my planning session from March 20th. So, I got my nails done yesterday. That was a little unplanned, unexpected. And today is the first day of spring. I am using my Sailor Manio Nuts pen to do my daily item for today, which I believe is the first day of spring. And then I'm flipping to my weekly spread, and here is where I do my memory keeping. So this is done after the fact. The day has already ended, and I am recording how I spent my day. So I ended up having a couple of items added to my schedule for today, as well as a student that really started his day on the struggle bus. He did a lot of screaming and swearing and banging his fists on a door. And then, as we were trying to debrief the day, he had a real hard time taking accountability for how his actions led to needing to do that debrief and have that conversation. And so I had a lot of back and forth of pausing the conversation and walking away so that he could have a moment to think and we could try again. I also participated in an interview for another assistant director position at my job, and also in just a meeting to talk about kind of structures going forward. I was not ready yet to do journaling, so I put that to the side and pulled out my day free, which is where I kind of track my day to day. And this is what I do more in the moment. So I started out with doing my habit tracker from yesterday. And with this one, I'm using my TWSBI Eco Glow Green, TWSBI Eco Royal Jade with Diamond Garland. And I recently got a ring light, so the angle of this video is a little bit different. Maybe the lighting is a little bit different, but with this, you can see the red sheen of this ink. You can also see that this ink is at its base, this really lovely dark green. What you don't necessarily capture is the shimmer of this ink, but I'm also not necessarily seeing that in the text. So I think the shimmer is not consistent, which, that's pretty typical of a shimmer ink. Then I pull out some washi tape because I realized that there's some information that I did not redact prior to starting the filming. So I cut off a little piece and just kind of slap that down so that I can redact that information. And then I pull out my Laban Rosa, and with that, I have it inked up with Pilot Iroshizuku Kirisami, and I'm crossing off the things that I started my day wanting to do that I actually got done. And then I reference my email, which I have pulled up on my computer off to the side, and I look at my sent mail to see what it was that I was able to send out. Now, today, between the student who had a behavioral episode in the morning, as well as the couple of meetings that I had and that were added to my schedule, and I also had a student that I spent some big chunks of time with, I didn't really get a ton of emails sent out, which means that there wasn't a ton of things for me to account for. But I still went through to capture my day because this is a tool that I reference. If someone were to ever ask what I did on a specific day or when I did something, I am able to flip through this and pull that information out. It has definitely been helpful a number of times in my career. And even as I add in things that are beyond tasks and that are notations of conversations or notations of events, it's been exceptionally helpful. Now, this is a new setup, so you see my hair come in and out of the frame. I apologize. I will figure that out. but I'm also adding in some to-do list items for later in the week that came up in response to different things that happen today. So you see me noting that here. I also did a little flipping back and forth because I noticed with this particular um, day when I did one of my dots to indicate a task, and then likely immediately crossed it out. So I went over that dotted spot 2 times. There was a dot on the next page. So it did bleed through, which is not common for Tomoe River paper. And then because I went through and marked off some tasks that reminded me of a task that was outside of email that I wanted to note and cross off. Then I pull out my Hobonichi cousin. I did just pull in. My husband took the day off of work today, so I dropped off our son and I picked up our son from school and told him, don't worry about the pickup. I'm 10 minutes down the road. It doesn't make sense for you to come, leave home and pick him up. I'll do that, but have a beverage waiting for me. So he made me a beverage, which he will not tell me the ingredients to, but he's calling it a new fashioned. So it's a version of an old fashioned, but with a little twist. And here's all my hair. um, so for today, I wrote about a couple of things. One, um, I have a student in my program that I've talked about a couple of times who, at the end of the day today, reflected and said that he felt like it was the most successful day that he had had in our program. And I would have to agree with that. There wasn't anything necessarily exceptional about today, but I think it was the absence of other things. So he did not get to a point where he was so frustrated that he felt like he needed to run out of the building. And that's a really great thing. He also was able to complete some academic work. That's one of the concerns that I have about this young man right now is he's not accessing a whole lot of academics. And I did have a little bit of a heart to heart with him last week and just kind of joked and said, I'm not a daycare. You are here to learn. So we do need to talk about what we can do to get you accessing your educational environment a little bit more. So today I started off the day by saying to him, how do you think today's going to go? And he said, I think it's going to be a good day. And I said, great. And I said, are you going to get any work done? Or do you just want to focus on being where you're supposed to be? And he did say he wanted to get some work done. And he did it. And I'm very proud of him. Um, Probably about the last hour and a half my workday was spent one on one with him. He at that point was pretty burned out by being in the classroom, so he spent time in my office. We went into a life skill classroom, which is for students that are on the autism spectrum, maybe are working on developing vocal verbal abilities. And he did some social interactions with all of them. He set up for a group activity. He invited them to the group activity. He ran the group activity and then he helped to clean it up and then he said goodbye to everybody. And it was just really nice to see him get involved in that manner. And then we went to the gym and played some basketball. He played basketball. I watched, let me be clear on that. I'm not necessarily a basketball player, and I'm not going to embarrass myself by trying. And then we ended his day on a really good note. But I was happy that he was able to say he felt like it was a good day. I also had another classroom in my program had worked on earning some classroom points, and um, they traded in those points to get McDonald's. Now, that is something I pay for myself. I think next year I need to do some work to see if I can build it into the budget, but I was a little overwhelmed this year and didn't do that, is what it is. So It was about 60, $65 for this grouping of 8 kids to get lunch from McDonald's. And they were really excited to get that. And I actually, after that, student and I went to do the group activity in the life skills classroom. We went back to my office and I found a card waiting for me, and it was a thank you card. So I walked down to the class and I expressed my gratitude for getting that thank you card, as well as my pride and appreciation for the work that the students had done to earn that special lunch. And and then one thing led to another, and we started talking about being Irish, probably because of St. Patrick's Day. And they were asking me if I was Irish, and I said, yes, I am. And one of the students said, what percentage? And for me, and here's a little bit of a trigger warning, I suppose, that brought up some tough thoughts. So I have been very averse to doing DNA testing, and I've had to really explore why that is. And there's a couple of reasons. One, in my early 20s, I did donate my eggs 5 times, and the first donation, that child is going to be 18 and in the next couple of years. We do have a legal agreement when these children turn 18. If they want to seek me out, they can. So I have that in the back of my mind. And the last thing I would want is for one of them to find out about me or about their egg donation process from a DNA test. So I'm choosing not to put my DNA out there in these really public forums. But then the other is I do have a biological father that's not part of my life, and he does have at least one other child from a different relationship that is out there. And I am not yet at a point where I want to explore finding out about siblings that I have through DNA testing. So I wrote a lot about that in this journaling entry, as well as about how I might broach that with my son, because that is a conversation that I'll need to have with him at some point if he were to ever explore doing some DNA testing. Um, so that's just kind of an interesting little tidbit. I apologize if that brought up emotions for anyone else who might be watching. Um, but let me know, how did you feel about the quality of this video? It does have a ring light, like I said, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you soon. Bye.